Hi, and good evening, everyone. My name is Albert, and this is Vlogs About Nothing. Thank you very much for taking the time out of your very busy conclusion to the week. You feel me? Your EOW, you're just about to start that next work week, and that's cool. You know what I mean? It must be nice to have a job to report to. I dare in fact say that based on some of the evidence that I'm about to provide, it is literally not only in your best interest to just kind of maintain some sort of semblance of some very regimented, very archaic, old school going to work and making that minimum wage or whatever it is, because if you don't, there is actually, statistically speaking, a higher chance that you may consider unaliving yourself. And, it's not funny. That is definitely a terrible joke, right? I mean, going on into that because maybe you thought I was about to be talking about something else, you feel me? Or, but I do want to talk tonight about the very, very specific new evidence that now provides us with a direct association between higher suicide rates and unemployment. Friendly reminder, regardless of who the president is or whoever's in charge or what two political parties are absolutely trying to convince the rest of us that we don't know what's going on, you feel me? Suicide is a serious issue, and it should not be, joked about, like in an awkward kind of a way, I mean, if anyone's gonna joke about it, I mean, it may as well be this guy, right? Just because how else are we gonna talk about such sensitive issues without, you feel me, like going into some type of political semantics? I just want to be clear here that this is a nonpartisan issue. You understand what I'm saying? This is a very human issue, a very humane issue. Shout out to all my humanists out there. Hillary Clinton defined herself as a humanist, you feel me? And then she ended up running for the Democratic presidential nomination, and that didn't work out well for her. However, I swear to God, I do remember, like, it just, anyways, I'm a Hillary fan. So let's talk about just like it doesn't matter again who is in charge or what's going on in the political world, like in and of that way, because ultimately it is their responsibility to mitigate the risks of public health, and a public health interest is definitely doing what the government can to prevent suicide. And at the very basic level of all things that are intertwined with the thought of even, like creeping into your mind about may or maybe not wanting to do that is now often we know is, if people don't have like a job, you feel me, then they don't like even have any sort of purpose, right? And again, now I'm not gonna argue like the opinions like based on that, you feel me, just because some of those are opinions. I think they're valid opinions and so forth, just because it's not fun to talk about, right? Especially if like you're doing well in life and you're big balling and everything, and that's good for you, and I wish you well, and I hope that you continue to prosper. It's just people that work low wage earning jobs and don't have careers and are not educated, most often than not, and obviously other people that don't fall within those parameters. And there are exceptions to all these cases, right? In both scenarios, but jobs are important. The government providing jobs is important. The jobs themselves are not important, right? I mean, most of them, just because most of them can either be done for a whole lot cheaper, or they can be done for free, or they can be done in just different ways, right? But as traditionally speaking, in contemporary history and so forth, the government is classically employed, a good majority of all the people that live within our country. Isn't that interesting, right? That like there's a lot of private enterprise here in America. Absolutely. You may think that it is more than it is. You feel me? Especially if you're not here from America. I mean, I was born here in Albuquerque, New Mexico, for example, and this state is an absolute federal, sort of enclave. That's literally kind of like what it is. We are, I guess, recognized as our own sovereign state within the union, but there is a huge federal presence here, right? And this is all publicly documented and so forth. And I think it's very interesting because, again, I grew up here, and I know as a local, right, that unless you worked for either the big three private Intel, Sandia, Los Alamos, unless you were an engineer, you feel me, going on into the private sector, which at some point you still had options to work at places like Kirtland Air Force Base, you go down to Cannon, you go down any number of different military bases, as so far as I knew when I was a kid growing up in the 90s, and that is still where the majority of all employment comes from here in New Mexico, right? Whether it's state, it's all government, again, and just a friendly reminder, your local government is just a smaller extension, of the larger body of the federal jurisdiction that the sovereign state lies within. You know what I mean? I mean, these are not just technical things. These are lawful. These are recognized, and these are followed laws that we use. And so I just need to be clear that again. Suicide rates are, and I'm gonna leave a link in the description below, obviously, where all I'm pulling this information from. But just to kind of put this into perspective, in the year 2022, here in the United States of America, 49,500 people ended their lives prematurely, and at their own making, and that is the highest recorded number of people falling victim to that in recorded American history, and one might argue that based on other evidence that has been gathered and so forth, that the unemployment rate being so high right now here in America isn't doing anybody any favors. You feel me? Especially those people that are not as educated, that are not as fortunate, that don't know somebody that may be going through some personal drama or whatever in their lives, who may not have the external support structure that is absolutely needed to be even, to have a shot at being successful in this country in any type of way, you feel me? And so, like, those instances are more, like, there's a higher occurrence of those instances now than ever before. I mean, in case you haven't noticed, right? Like, there aren't jobs, and it doesn't require you to look on your phone and, like, check on the most recent news about it. I mean, if you have a functioning brain, and again, that's a dark joke too, because some people don't, I guess, and they wouldn't be able to determine whether or not there are jobs. But I tell you what, you feel me, the rest of us absolutely bet your ass know that there isn't shit to do. Not a thing, you feel me? There may be things to do if you have money, but, like, there's no way to make money to do those things, and there's no opportunity to further yourself and to even put yourself in a position to have a high earning job so that you can afford to do that stuff. And again, so not only does it come full circle, but it must be stressed, right, to all of my registered Democrats and Republicans out there that go out to those voting booths every 4 years and elect somebody to be the representative of each and every one of us, to their best ability, and I just find that it's interesting that, no one either from either party either want to talk about it or either want to address the situation. You feel me? And I'm a socialist. All is fair in politics. Real politicians know this, and so yeah, I didn't write the rules. I'm just playing by them, and I know that a really big part of being an impactful potential politician for anybody, considering doing these things, is that, right? Is really focusing on job growth, right? And obviously job growth isn't going to be provided by the friendly guys down on at Amazon or even Google nowadays, right? And in case you didn't know, the H1N1 visas that were being offered, you feel me, are again now just being reflective of how many people are being laid off by these companies, and then literal people moving into the country and replacing those jobs, right? So it's not AI that's taking the jobs, right? It is actual literal human beings that are being paid way less to do the same job, and even some, and in most cases more than just their exclusive duties, but that thereof the rest of the teams, you feel me? And so I just think that unemployment is a big deal. And, if we're not going to talk about giving people jobs, you feel me? Because the private sector obviously will never do that. They never have an incentive to hire. In case you didn't know, that would defeat the whole purpose of their whole scam. You feel me? They want to make money, and how can you make money if you're giving it all away? Jesus, you gotta keep that shit, yo. You gotta pay people pennies on the dollar. You have to make them become unhealthy. You gotta work them so that they can't even have an opportunity to know that things are being done to them that are just beyond unforgivable so far as any functioning economy would concern it. I think that unemployment's a big deal, and it's way bigger of a deal than this current sitting United States president is making it. And moreover, if we're not going to talk about unemployment, then we really need to talk about universal basic income, right? And at the end of the day, we really need to solve that first, and then see what happens with the suicide rates in this country and all over the developed world, right? Again, because this is very standard all throughout the developed world. Industrialized nations throughout the surface of this planet engage in the same corrupt political behavior that the same people over here do, right? And that's just because we're doing it, you feel me? And arguably, America has a very large influence on the known world, and whatever we do, it seems other countries follow suit, you feel me? And that should make it even more important for us to be stewards to all of the people, right? I mean, us politicians call y'all constituents, but at the end of the day, we're all people. And I just think that regardless of your political beliefs or what side of the aisle you fall on, you should care about whether or not members of your community at large are ending their lives prematurely, and all because there is zero hope for them. There is no opportunity. There is no way for them to recover in some instances, just because of how far they've fallen. And a lot of time we do victim blaming, you feel me? And we literally gaslight these same people into becoming homeless and junkies, and sort of fulfilling that own sort of reality or whatever, and we make it what it is, right? Like, reality is subjective, you feel me? I mean, it is what you see it as, and I just see currently that this reality where we have a government and politicians that don't discuss and or talk about the direct correlation between how important unemployment is to your literal life, I think is a huge disservice. You feel me? And again, both of the political parties here in America are to blame for that. They are both as equally to blame for that, because they just want to talk about stupid shit. You feel me? They just want to employ people for ICE so that they can go shake them down at the flea market next to Home Depot. I mean, this is what American government representatives are deciding that that's how we can best spend our time, and moreover, your tax money. You feel me? Because the government couldn't exist without y'all. You feel me? So hopefully we get a thank you letter or something for helping the commander-in-chief round up all of the unobjectionable, just absolutely detestful immigrants that have come here, you know, and made all of our lives so much worse. God damn it. In case you didn't know, I was being sarcastic, right? But that's the sentiment, right? As we begin to celebrate the holidays and so forth, and talk about some of these very sensitive things, you know, keep in mind that that's what I'm here for, you know, and I'm here to make things just as awkward and or as comfortable and or as enlightening as you'd like them to be. But at the end of the day, I think that we should talk more about this stuff. I think unemployment is not just something that is existential and, you know, laissez-faire with the good old free market capitalist principles. I just think that it's more than that. It involves us, you know, it involves humans and their labor and whether or not we value life, right? And I think, I dare say that we all value life, right? And that we all think that the things could be better in that way. You feel me? And that, you know, we'd like to create a system and a political environment where people aren't doing radical things to solve their what otherwise are unsolvable problems in their own eyes, you know, regardless of what you think or do not think about the decisions that they make and or for the reasons they make them. I'm just saying, okay? And so, hi guys, I really appreciate your time. Thank you for watching my videos. I really appreciate that. I couldn't say it enough. I'll continue to say it every single time I'm talking to myself here, you know, on camera or whatever. And I think that it's really important that we recognize, like, unemployment is just more than whether or not you're going to be making $7.50 according to 2025 Federal Standard Minimum Wage Law Act provisions set forth by the government. You feel me? I'm just saying that, like, even if that is what it is, you know what I mean? Even that is something. Like, it's hard to expect anybody to want to be their best selves when they are not given an opportunity, a fair shot at being their best selves, you know? And I just think that we couldn't possibly even begin to assess who has or who does not have a fair shot at receiving a good quality life as a result of the lack of work we're providing everyone. You feel me? It'd be different if it was like a plentiful surplus of jobs and people were still making decisions that you know, we as a society perceive to not be in their best interest. You feel me? Which is, again, a side of the coin that I fall on. You know, I believe in free will more than anything, but I do also believe that people are better off alive than dead, you know? I mean, that's how I feel about it, you feel me? And I understand that, like, death to all of us is something that will come, you know? And so, like, I'm not really worried about that. What I'm worried about is preventable, early onset death that is the result of, or is a symptom of a larger problem in society that we can absolutely nip in the bud. You feel me? We can absolutely make sure that everyone has a job. We can absolutely make sure that everybody has some pocket money, you know, to spend on whatever it is that they want to spend it on. I mean, and again, I think capitalists should applaud that, you know? I mean, who wouldn't? Again, I think if I were a capitalist, I'd be very much in favor of thinking that way, if at all, just because it benefited me, you know? And I thought that's what all the capitalists were about. And so, I really do thank you guys, and, you know, I don't mean to get too dark and or cringe with the, very sensitive topic jokes, you feel me? But otherwise, how would we talk about it, you know? And how would we get to know one another? And how would I get you guys to stay listening to this, you know, aging unk over here who talks to himself for 20 minutes a night, every single night, you know? And wakes up to find that hundreds of people have watched whatever it is that I've talked about, you feel me? Yeah, it's very rewarding. Yes, it is. And I love it. So thank you guys so much for being a subscriber, for watching my videos, and for, you know, just being a part of my life. I really appreciate that, and I hope that you guys take something from these talks that we have, and that you at least at the very least think about how we can all be better people, you know? And I hope that you guys have a really good night, okay? Thanks for watching my show. Bye.